Hey, welcome to Let's Talk Nation. I'm your man, Rod Love, and sitting next to me is the Hawk.
You know what, man?
Hey, I see you, boy.
Stuff,
I see you. But you motivate me. I'm hey, but nah, hey, we got the general sitting next to me. He all, sitting up in here cutting and everything.
Whatever, man. Once again, it's all. But let me know how we get this thing started, man. How did we this past week?
Hey, man, week was excellent, man. Week was great. How about yours?
Listen, man, the week was not bad. Spent this weekend actually in the Peach State.
Yeah,
up in Georgia. Yeah, the wife and I we went up to the Peach State and hung out. She made some perfume, and I just relaxed, hung out, talked to friends and different things like that. But, yeah,
okay,
man,
okay.
So, yeah.
Sound like you got a little R&R, man.
Yeah, a little bit, not a whole lot, just a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, man, hey, we have a show for you, and if our engineer Mondo will run on the other side into my office and grab that round speaker on the desk, we would certainly appreciate it. But we got a show for you this evening, and man, we're gonna be talking about some things, Greg.
Yeah.
Enlightening people.
Yeah.
And one of the things I love about it is we're gonna let you dive into your expertise too again.
Hey, listen, man, whatever it is, man, to help Let's Start Nation improve and keep that IQ going up the way that we always promise, because like we always tell them, Brother Love, they're tuned in to two of the most influential voices in Central Florida on a Monday night podcast, Brother Love and Greg Jackson, the dynamic duo guaranteed to raise your IQs 20 to 15 points. I meant to say 15 to 20 points. You got to go from top to bottom.
You got to give them increments.
20 points. And on some nights, Brother Love, we do 25 to 30. If you want to be a part of the night show, all you got to do is hit 407-921-6195. Again, that's 407-921-6195 to talk to Brother Love and Greg Jackson, the dynamic duo. Or you can get on your Facebook page. You can use those little Facebook, Twitter fingers, and you can communicate with Brother Love and Greg Jackson and Dr. Light. And sometimes Armando will chime in. But Brother Love, right now, all they have to know is that it is time to let's
get it on. All right, brother. Hey, man, Greg, in terms of let's get it on, man, what has been going on in the Florida legislature, man? Because, we're winding down, man, to the other one that's around. But we're winding down to, to where the legislature probably 2 weeks, maybe 2.5.
Yeah, May 2nd is when they adjourn.
That's right.
Sine die, as is known to be on the Hill. And so, there's a lot that's going on. A lot that's going on here in the state of Florida. Things going on with property taxes, some things going on with insurance, property insurance, and other things like that. But there is one particular piece of legislation that's coming through, Brother Love, that I think and that we think that most communities need to know about, because this particular piece of legislation is going to affect what was instituted back in 1969 by the Florida legislature to address slum and blight in underserved areas. And what I'm talking about, Brother Love, is Chapter 169, Part 3, which is the Community Redevelopment Agency provision of the Florida statute.
Greg, it's funny that you mentioned that. And could you go a little step further, man, and just let our audience also know who wrote the white paper when, and Greg, I can't remember, was it 2018 or so?
2017?
2017.
Yeah,
when Speaker Cochran, then Speaker of the House, was looking at the abuses that were taking place around the state of Florida as it related to community redevelopment. Hey, Bishop Stubbs, man, hey, good to see you. Hey, but when Speaker Cochran was looking at what was taking place, the abuses that were taking place. Hey, man, you got Greg Jackson Sr. in the house too, man.
Everybody's chiming in.
Yeah, and I saw the First Lady get on here as well. But the fact that this is not the first time we've seen this.
No, I mean, listen, the CRAs have been under scrutiny for a lot of years, and they have skirted that scrutiny because when the conversation comes up and comes around, hey, we need to get rid of these agencies. A lot of folks in the community will stand up and say, well, wait a minute, these agencies absolutely serve a purpose. Now, some of the problems have been, and I've been very vocal about this, and it doesn't matter because when you talk about the white paper, that's a paper that, yourself, Dr. Nelson, myself, along with members of the community came together and we put together a white paper in order to give information as to why CRAs were beneficial and useful in certain communities. And so there was some pushback and there was not a real big concern about CRAs, being terminated. But in this legislative cycle, Brother Love, it seems that it is very apparent and very clear that with regards to House Bill 991 and Senate Bill 1242, that CRAs are en route to sunsetting here in the state of Florida.
Well, Greg, I think it's also important. I mean, before you dive in and let people know more about what the intent CRAs were created for, the fact that this takes away any ability to look at bringing it in for a landing, so to speak. If you have future plans, and I think, Greg, I don't know if I sent you the video of an individual testifying before, I think it was the House at the time, a couple of weeks ago, and he was testifying to the fact that you have municipalities that have entered into contracts with development companies, and the development is going to take far longer than this sunsetting in October of this year, meaning you have to expend what resources or encumber those resources from CRAs right now. Do you have any other understanding?
So my understanding is that if it is a project that is contained in the 2024-2025 budget of the CRA, those projects can be maintained and they can work through those projects. The problem is a lot of CRAs don't have those plans in their budget right now, or it's not a part of their CR plan. And so there's going to be a big scramble because come July 1st is when pretty much everything needs to be in place. But come July 1st, I think that a lot of CRAs are going to amend the CRA plans. They're going to amend their budgets in order to make sure that they have projects in place that they can use and expend the funds in their CRA trust accounts.
Greg, can you elaborate a little bit? Because when we wrote the white paper, man, I mean, some of the things that we discovered, and I mean, it's all public record. I believe it was Miami-Dade that the Inspector General cited the use of CRA dollars in, I believe it was Delray, Fort Lauderdale. I mean,
Hollandale.
You can go all across the state, and what a lot of the dollars were being used for then was downtown development.
Listen, and there are other overlay districts where monies can be gotten from in order to address some of the needs that CRA funds are being used to do certain projects, like pet projects, if you ask me. And and if I could, I mean, because it really doesn't affect me. But even in the city of Orlando, when they were taking CRA funds to put plants and lighting around the stadium, me personally, I didn't think that was an appropriate use of CRA funds. If we look even in our own backyard in Apopka, when CRA funds, $1 million was used to buy a parking lot, and I understood it. I just didn't think the CRA funds were the funds that should have been used in order to renovate.
When you weighted it against other needs.
Yeah, I mean, because listen, if you would have gone down the street, made a left and walked down the street about 3 or 4 blocks, you would have seen that there was definitely a need for those CRA funds that were being expended. And the more interesting thing is that the monies in the CRA funds was not just coming from those businesses that benefited from having the parking lot that was purchased by the CRA or by the city, because individuals who live in the CRA district, their tax dollars go toward the tip money.
That's what I was going to ask you to go ahead and explain.
To place into the trust account so that these projects to address slum and blight.
Can you let people know what TIF means, what TIF stands for, and how those dollars are generated?
I mean, so TIF funds are basically tax incremental funding, and I know folks don't know what that means, but basically it's money that's taken from taxpayer dollars, put into the trust account so that it can be used in the CRA area to address slum and blight as determined by the CRA. Now, you have to have a CRA that is sensitive to the needs of the community. That's first and foremost. That's what I think first and foremost. But if you have a CRA that is detached from the community as a whole, that's when you get certain spending that I don't think benefits a community. And obviously, the state of Florida legislature has determined that a lot of CRAs, while they are using monies for development and different things like that, that there are a lot of CRAs that are using monies in ways or in a fashion that's not addressing the aims of ridding those areas of slum and blight. Because if you go and you look in Apopka, and listen, I went through and I took photographs in 2017, and then I went back in 2022 and took photographs of the same area, and it looked the exact same. if there were CRA dollars being put to use in those areas and people who are sensitive to what was taking place in those areas, I don't think you should see the same old in those areas. But that's what we saw.
And so now we're at that point to where, I guess one of the biggest fears is coming to fruition when you talk about the elimination of CRAs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Greg, so it's set to actually sunset now. And what was the date? Are you saying so future projects that are already set can be completed? Is that
Future projects that are in the 2024-2025 budget. Now, the problem is, when do they set those 2024-2025 budgets? In October of 2024. So a lot of these budgets aren't going to have those projects in there, and people are going to be scrambling trying to put projects into their budget. And so that's why I think a lot of the problems are going to lie is that folks or CRAs aren't going to have enough time to spin up projects to put into a plan or to put into a budget in order to continue operating a CRA.
well, it's something, Greg, that's been coming for a long time, man. And so now that we're there, I think what's going to be incumbent upon all CRAs, all municipalities, and Greg, did we ever determine how many CRAs are in Orange County? I mean,
Orange County, I can't say. I know that you have a CRA in Oakland. You have one in Eatonville. You have one in Orlando. You have one in Apopka. I know it's a couple more. So I want to say at least 6 or 7 CRAs in the Central Florida area here in this area. But I'm sure that I'm forgetting some right off, and I could probably pull the list. But I mean, listen, as much as I say you have to have individuals on the CRA boards, on the advisory boards, which really truly the CRA boards are made up of the elected officials in those areas. There are very few CRAs that are made up of individuals other than the elected officials. But as much as I point and I say that, and in some cases they can have 2 additional individuals on the board aside from the elected officials. But as much as I say that CRA boards have to have individuals who are sensitive to and connected to the community, I also have to look back at the community.
mm-hmm.
There were a lot of times when people were saying, "Hey, listen, CRAs are about to be abolished. Let's come out and let's show our support. Let's come out. Let's do projects. If you have anything that's taking place in your community, come out and let your elected officials know, or let the CRA board or the community redevelopment agency know what it is that needs to be done in those areas." And people would not show up.
Would not show up. But Greg, here's the other part, and I want to open this up, and I think you already did, is if you have any questions about CRAs, or if you have an opinion about whether or not what's taking place is good or bad, we want to hear your voice. Please feel free to call into the show. You got an expert sitting to my left here, 407-921-6195. Greg, on that note,
Listen, I'm telling you, don't call me because it's too late.
Too late. Hey, too late. But Greg, let me ask: do you think that what's taking place with the elimination of CRAs? And no, I'm not going to ask you that question.
Which one? I want to know.
Well, I was going to say, because this was something that was on the cuffs in 2017, 2018 when we did the white paper on it.
That's right.
Now it's here. I was going to just ask the question, man. Do you think that this is deserving? And I guess the answer, it goes sort of without saying, if the legislature is looking at this and it was an issue some years back and folks have identified that it's still problematic.
So now we say, is it deserving? Do you mean is the termination or the elimination of CRAs deserving?
Yeah.
So listen, this is what I'll say. When the legislature determined that CRAs were needed in certain areas in 1969, I know that the purpose was to address slum and blight. If CRAs were doing what they were supposed to do, they should have sunsetted on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you were going in and addressing slum and blight in your areas, within 10, 15 years, those areas should have been developed.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't think that the legislature intended for CRAs to be
everlasting. Okay. So
and so I think that's part of the reason why the legislature is saying, wait a minute, these things have run their course.
Here's something that has confused people though too.
Yeah.
Great. You have community redevelopment agencies at the state level,
mm-hmm.
and then you have what's also called, based on the acronym, CRAs at the federal level. Can you?
That's right. Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
the Community Redevelopment
Reinvestment.
Act, right? Or Reinvestment Act.
Reinvestment. Yeah.
So
yeah.
so can you let people know what the difference between the two is?
I mean, so really and truly, community redevelopment agencies, again, the funding. So the funding is the biggest difference. The funding for CRA's community redevelopment agencies come from tax incremental funding that comes from the taxing district or the individuals within those areas that pay their taxes. And so their tax dollars are actually being used in order to address the slum and blight as the Florida legislature, as Florida legislature has asked and dictated. There are other rules and different things that they can address and look to, but community reinvestment agencies mainly deal with funding that comes from the federal government and is funneled. Right? I say funneled because it makes it sound like it's a bad thing, but that is funneled through financial institutions and banks and things of that nature, and it is used to address very similar things to CRA's community redevelopment agencies, in that they're trying to address ways to improve the financial stability, the sustainability in communities using dollars from more public-private engagement.
Greg, if I can recall, when we were developing that white paper, those dollars that you're talking about that came through the federal government that banks were receiving, banks were then obligated, if you would, to engage in that community reinvestment. I mean, and you had banks at the time when we were doing this that were looking for opportunities to invest in.
Yeah, but again, I say, I mean, even though those programs are out there and available, how many people can you sit here and actually say that benefited from either CRA?
You're right. But now that will take me to, my biggest pet peeve. And my biggest pet peeve, Greg, is a level of what I'm gonna call now skilled bureaucracy.
Okay.
Because you can look at criteria, if you would. You can look at proposal criteria, and when you read it, you can read it and say, man, this looks like it's being written for a certain organization.
Right.
So when you look at things like that, and then you also still have, I'm gonna speak for businesses local in Central Florida that will tell you when they look at certain criteria that's written for small businesses to get involved and take advantages of funding at the governmental level, you get into looking at how high bonds are on certain things, and those small businesses can't compete with the lot. So, that's one of the things, man, I look at when I look at supposedly opportunity being created by some of these things, such as CRAs, whether it's at the federal level or at the state level.
I mean, this is what I'll say. Unfortunately, I think that with CRAs, Community Reinvestment Act dollars, I think that the opportunity to get funding from that particular source was very difficult for people. Now, the thing about the white paper that we developed, and this is the beautiful thing about it, because the criteria were difficult, but they weren't impossible. But individuals weren't trained on how to put the ask together. What we did was in 2017, 2018 is that we showed how to put the ask together for small businesses. How do you put the ask together? Not only that, how do you train them to be a business in the community that would benefit from the CRA dollars?
Man, you know what? You just made me think, man. That was something that was never dusted off.
Yeah.
Hey, how we see problems exist, and we can call town halls and we can call for task force meetings to study something. But Greg, we know what needs to be done.
Right.
And so, yeah, you're right. I just thought about that when you said it. I mean, that was something, man, that took 6 to 7 months.
Well, I mean, not only 6 to 7 months, but it also took engagement from the community. Young people at the time who were high school students in the community that came together. You had pastors who came in. You had school teachers,
business owners.
You had families that came in to give their input and thoughts and ideas about what a viable community would look like and how CRA dollars could be used in order to build viable and sustainable communities. And also those businesses, like I said, a lot of times with CRAs, community reinvestment dollars, people hear, hey, this money is available, but they don't know how to actually apply for it and to be competitive to get those dollars. And it shouldn't be that difficult, but it is for a reason.
You're right.
It shouldn't be that difficult. It shouldn't be that difficult, but it has to be that difficult. Let me say it like that. But like I said, for what we put together, it was how do you train businesses to be good businesses, and that was a part of that process that I think a lot of people missed out on, because now here we are again talking about CRAs, but this time we're talking about CRAs from the standpoint of now it's a little too little, too late.
You're right. You're right. Well, Greg, I don't know. Is that one of those little cliches to say, man? I don't know if we beat that horse. We beat that horse to death or whatnot. But for those of you who didn't know, now you know CRAs. Well, I'm not even gonna say unfortunately. CRAs are on their way out.
Yeah, but like I said, if community, for what they were established for and what they were intended for, great word, what they were intended for, they should not have even, there's no CRA that should be, celebrating its 30th anniversary or 40th anniversary, because they should have been able to address the issues that were brought forth to bring them into existence.
Well, on that note, though, with its exit, now municipalities have to look at those resources that are in the pot,
right,
and look at how do you utilize those resources to execute on your plans, whether those were residential improvement, whether business development, whether it, Greg, I mean, we went through the whole list, man, when we were doing this thing. And so I know that municipalities are going to be working on that. You and I, the city that we live in, I know that's going to probably be the first thing in front of them, because time is of the essence now.
Right. And listen, for certain CRAs who have been putting in the work and who have plans together, I can name one right now, but I'm not going to do it right now. But I can name some right now that are putting projects together and have been putting projects together over the last 4 to 5 months, to where I think they're going to be fine. Because as that CRA winds down, other opportunities in that community are going to flourish, because certain projects are being put in place now.
You're right. And Greg, I got to give a shout out to Ken Thomas, who, when we met Ken, I mean, he's a CRA expert as well. He was with Leesburg at the time.
Right.
And man, Ken's level of expertise, man, when he talked about what they were doing with residential, whether they were renovations or weatherization, but they were improvements for those residents that were within the CRA boundary.
Right.
And it was ongoing. So, and I spoke to Ken this morning, by the way, kind of
get his thoughts on what's taking place.
Get his thoughts on taking place. And he did reference and send me some material, man, so that on the way out of the door, municipalities can look at some of the things that they can do with those resources. So I want to say thank you to Ken Thomas, man. I appreciate your expertise, brother.
So listen, the other thing too, with the Florida legislature, some other things that may be affecting some people is the mandatory BI bill. Last year, the year before last, it did not pass. It narrowly was defeated. Last year, it actually passed the House and the Senate, but it was vetoed by the governor. And my understanding is that this year, there are efforts to help that to pass, and they're trying to make it veto-proof, meaning they believe that they're going to get 3/4 of the House and the Senate in order to be able to push mandatory BI through here in the state of Florida. Now, people ask me, what is mandatory BI? And for the number of accidents that people have here in the state of Florida, I think that mandatory BI is something that should seriously be looked at and considered, because right now, if you're involved in a motor vehicle accident here in the state of Florida, you may be involved in an accident with someone who has either very little insurance, $10,000 that's supposed to cover any and all injuries, or no insurance at all, meaning no bodily injury insurance. So they could be riding around with insurance to cover the collision damage to their car. They could be riding around with insurance that covers, med payments or medical payments for them. But for someone that they injure in an accident, they may not have any coverage at all. And that's a hard conversation to have with clients. That was part of the conversation I have with my thing. That's a hard conversation to have with a client, to where they've been involved in an accident, they are hurt, and the person that injured them that's responsible has no insurance.
Wait, hold up. Can you break this down elementary? So you're saying an individual could have BI on their auto and themselves, but don't have it to cover anybody that they may injure?
So if it's on that policy, it wouldn't be called BI because BI is bodily injury coverage.
Okay.
And that bodily injury coverage is specifically for injuries that are caused to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So what they may have is something that's called MedPay, which is above PIP coverage, which is PIP is personal injury protection. So everyone who drives a car in the state of Florida, if you're involved in an accident, that's why you have $10,000 of coverage because you have a no fault coverage where you have $10,000 where up to 80% of any bill can be paid for by your automobile insurance. Now, if you hurt somebody else, there's no requirement that you have any coverage to compensate or to pay for damages that you caused to someone else's body at all. So you can now listen. I've had cases, tough cases. I had a case where there was a young lady and her young brother were walking across the street. A guy ran them down like dogs in the street. Luckily, she survived. The young boy survived also. But the guy that hit him in the street like dogs had no insurance. So I had to go to these people. The young lady had multiple surgeries to her leg. She had a broken leg. And I had to unfortunately go to them and say, there's nothing that can be done. And I don't listen. I know people see the commercials. I love the commercials. I'm a part of those commercials because I've done very well with helping individuals to get compensation when they're injured, when there's coverage. But if there's no coverage, you can have people who are severely hurt, severely injured, in some instances, who are killed in an accident. And if that person doesn't have any insurance or very little insurance, there's nothing
you can do.
And no assets on top of that. But if they have $10,000 in bodily injury coverage and no bodily injury coverage, they probably don't have any assets either.
So Greg, right now, it looks as if the House and the Senate is in unison on this.
That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like.
And I mean, as you mentioned, if it passes in both chambers and passes based on the numbers,
that's needed, then it may be veto proof.
Okay.
So that's what people are pushing for right now. And we'll see. Like I said, May 2nd is the last day of the session, and the governor starts whipping out his pen shortly thereafter. We'll see what happens. So.
Well, look forward to finding it out, and we'll report back on here. But you know what? May 2nd, if sine die takes place, and it has the numbers that it has, it don't need to wait.
That's true. That is true. There's no need to wait on it. Now, here's something that I think is of interest to this fine organization called FEC that is a part of facilitating different different programs and going out and helping people to get up. But there is also a diabetes management in schools bill as well, which means that certain schools, adult and child education facilities, have to have certain programs and certain I hate to say equipment, but certain things available to people in schools if they have diabetes. And I think this is a great opportunity for diabetes educators and things of that nature to really and truly develop some type of project, some type of plan to be a part of this initiative.
And Greg, appreciate that plug, and you're absolutely correct. But Greg, you know what? With this diabetes management bill that's taking place, it's taking place, Greg, because we're seeing numbers of what is it? Juvenile diabetes and things of that are taking place, man. And so, Greg, it's a sad commentary that we're seeing the numbers at the levels that we're seeing it.
Yeah.
But at least the legislature is looking at this and trying to figure out how do we manage this? How do we educate?
Right.
And so you're absolutely correct, man. So looking forward to what takes place May the 2nd when the session is over, man, to look at what has passed and look at how is it going to be looked upon from the governor's office.
Right. So, speaking of the governor's office, I think that this is a good pivot because we were talking about Central Florida politics last week, and a lot of times we run out of time with some of the things we want to talk about. But I think now would be a good time to jump into some races that are taking place, particularly on the House side, the Senate side, and even Orange County government side.
And let me thank you, because every time we got here in the last couple of weeks, we ran out of time. But great, Florida Senate District 15 race, man, a race that not just people that are local, not just people that are around the state of Florida, but I've even had some friends outside of the state of Florida say, man, I see y'all got a real unusual race taking place. And I said, what are you talking about? And Greg, the talk is about the race of a brother and sister running against one another for the Florida Senate.
Yeah, listen. This podcast, this show has the unique distinction, Brother Love,
Mhm.
the unique distinction of at some point in time sitting down and having conversations with the sister
Mhm.
who was running for House District 40 at the time. Also had the unique opportunity to speak to the brother who at the time was running for the state senate seat when some other stuff was going on. And we've also had the unique opportunity to speak to the mom.
You're right about a book.
About a book
Yeah.
that she was doing, because the mom has a fantastic story of her own about being not the first African American female, but the first African American to integrate a school in Alachua County.
You know what? I like how you laid that out because
Mhm.
we have had the opportunity, man, and the privilege to interview all three.
Yeah, to each one of them, and so we have a great deal of respect, for each one of those individuals, respectively and as a family, despite what some may see, as a family rift.
Mhm.
It is one of those things that is garnering a lot of attention, not just here locally, but also nationally, about LaVon Bracy Davis, who is currently the representative for House District 40 here in the state of Florida, who is going to be running for State Senate Seat 15 against her older brother, Randolph or Randy Bracy, who at one point in time was a House representative and also a state senator,
Mhm.
and ran for Congress.
He ran for Congress,
Yeah.
and also, Greg, also had the distinction of being able to say that he held chairmanship, I believe, of the Criminal Justice Appropriation,
Yeah.
being in the minority party, which is often unheard of.
That not often unheard of. It is unheard of.
Yeah,
It is
so
unheard of.
it's definitely going to be an interesting race, and really, Greg, to make this even more so definitive than anything else is that Representative LaVon Bracy submitted her letter of resignation to the House, which is a process that you have to go through as she declared she was running for the Senate. And so, man, I mean, this is going to be a very interesting race.
I mean, it's beyond just interesting because just kind of the precursor to this race,
Mhm.
Brother Love, if we want to kind of delve into it just a little bit, and we're just only speaking facts here.
Mhm.
But when Randolph Bracy was running for the seat against the late Geraldine Thompson, who recently passed away, and that's why the seat is currently vacated, the mom and the sister actually supported Geraldine Thompson. And that was kind of the precipitating factor to show or to indicate that there was some type of rift with the Bracy family that a lot of folks quietly spoke about.
Yeah.
But we kind of addressed that issue head on when former State Senator Bracy came in and spoke to us on our show about what was going on.
And you're right, Greg. I mean, and you used the word supported, man. But I mean, I'm gonna just take it the extra mile, man. I mean, actually endorse.
Yeah, it wasn't just support. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was an open endorsement, of the son and brother's political opponents.
Yeah, I mean, Greg. Here's something I do want to say, man. And this is something that we are not going to do, and that we haven't done, is, man, I've been reading, the local newspaper here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And man, one of the things, man, that just sickens me
Okay.
is the sensationalism behind it. And I know they're trying to sell more newspapers, but Greg, some of the sensationalism behind just propping up this race, man, is the sensationalism behind focusing on you have siblings running against each other. And then, and I'm going to tell you, when I talk about sensationalism, one of the headlines a couple of weeks ago, it said Bracy versus Bracy.
Mm-hmm.
Then it went on to say something to the extent that there's you don't have to wonder who's going to win this. Just ask mom.
Okay.
That was the headline.
So now I got to ask, what did the article say that mom said?
Oh, I mean, the article went in detail, regarding the mother endorsing her daughter for that Senate seat. But Greg, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, front page.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna even go hair further on this, and if you talking about contributing to creating that schism within a family, then come on, that kind of stuff does it.
Listen, but the reporting agency
Mm-hmm.
didn't create this story. Think about it. We didn't create this story.
So it's all right for them to be TMZ on it.
Listen, we have just found ourselves in a very interesting time with a very interesting dynamic where we are seeing. And listen, I think the bigger story. No one would be talking about this if this was, name somebody in the community that's running, that running, but you're talking about the Bracey family.
Yeah.
And when you talk about the Bracey family, particularly here in the Central Florida area, for those who know the Demons,
Mm-hmm.
for those who know the siblings, for those who know the Perrys.
A legacy family. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, this is not just some family or just a group of individuals. The dad was at one point in time the head of the NAACP here in this area, was the pastor of one of the leading congregations here in Central Florida. The mom, as I said, has always been a stalwart, was actually at the forefront of the civil rights movement in her own right.
And anytime there was an issue that the community needed to stand up and fight for something,
right.
These are the name brands, and I'm glad you kind of ushered out those names. These are the name brand families, man, that have a history of standing up for something,
right,
versus laying
right.
down for it.
Right. And so, for me, as painful as it is, because you never want to have these conversations, you have to have the conversation because of who the family is and what this is an indication of. I mean, listen, if you ask me, Greg Jackson, if my child, listen, you my boy, we go way back, all right? Let's say that my daughter decided that she was going to run for Orange County Commission. Right? And let's say that my good friend, my road dog, Rod Love, declared he was going to run for that same seat. There's no way, and he sits next to me, there's no way on God's green earth that I would sit here and tell Brother Love, I'm supporting you.
You got to go with fam
over my daughter. There's
you're
no
right.
way that's
You're
going to
right.
happen. Now, what I would do is I'll pull Brother Love to the side and say, hey, listen, I am not going to do anything to hurt you, but you know where I got to go.
Yes.
And I know that Brother Love, if it was the same situation, if I was running for an office, I wouldn't even go to Brother Love and ask for support. I'd just say, listen, man, you do what you got to do.
But now take it another level. Take it another level when you talk about siblings.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now.
So, I mean, that's the interesting part of this conversation that I think a lot of people are kind of saying, but don't want to say because they don't know how to say it.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's like, it's almost a no-brainer because the whole thing with the first race, when, no matter what's going on with family behind closed doors, you never allow that to seep into the public. And I know I'm probably going to get some hate on this, and I'm fine with that. But I'm only saying this because of the level of respect that not only I have for the Bracey name and the Bracey family, but a lot of people in this community have for the Bracey name and the Bracey family, and the position that a lot of us are going to be in. Now, listen, I'm a person who say this too. I think I know where this race is going. I think I know where this race is going. I see the writing on the wall. But at the same time, Brother Love, I wish that it wasn't something that we had to talk about.
Yeah, or something that we had to see the way we're seeing it.
Yeah.
So, and Greg, I'm gonna revert to one of those cliches right now, man. And unfortunately, it is what it is right now.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it is that. But with that though, because we have an open Senate seat, Senate District 15, that is going to lead to an open seat for House District 40, which is the seat that LaVon Bracey Davis currently holds. And so now the question becomes, who is going to be the person that runs for that seat? And there are, anytime there's an open seat, we know what happens.
Oh man, everybody gonna pile into that.
And I know a couple of names right now that's probably going to jump in and they're going to run for the race. I know if they live in the district, which is not necessary up to a certain point, but if they live in the district, I'm fairly certain we're going to see LaWani Gelson's name. If they live in the district, I'm sure we're going to see Cynthia Harris' name. If he lived in the district and he was still with us, we would have seen my good friend, Tim Adams, my buddy Tim Adams. I miss Tim Adams. But there are just certain people that we know that names are going to be out there. But then there are other people right now who are quietly preparing for the next step. That we've heard the names too, we've heard the rumblings too, but we're going to be very interested in seeing who's going to run for that House district seat next.
Yeah, but you know, Greg, here's something you and I we've had conversations about, and that is, and it's not uncommon because I mean people are free to run for whatever they want to run for. But man, and this is just my opinion, man. I'm gonna just say this: when I look at a certain congressional seat, when I look at the fact that you had about 7 people that lined up for this congressional seat, and at the end of the day, man, you know, I don't even know if I should say I was surprised, but I was to see an individual who got the seat, man. And I mean, this is just me. I'm still not coming to terms with it because I don't see the impact, particularly on the Black community, with the individual who won this seat. And if you and I, we've done the math, and I mean, we've seen that if you just take two people out of running for that seat, you would have had a whole different,
totally different outcome.
Yeah.
A whole different.
And
listen, you know where we're going to experience the same thing. We're going to experience the same thing in the upcoming mayor's race for Orlando, which we already talked about. We're going to see the same thing in the upcoming Orange County mayor's race, as we talked about. And then we have a county seat that's coming open for Orange County District 2, where we're going to see the same thing. It's going to be an open seat, and we're going to see a lot of people jump into the race. And I think what we have to do is, Brother Love, as we've always done, is we have to educate the people in those areas so that if they do have 7, 8 people jump into the race, that 1 or 2 people really stand out in terms of the best individuals to lead that community. Now, let me tell you what's a good thing about the Orlando District 5 race. We know there's only going to be 2 people in that race.
Oh, and that's gonna be a duke. That's gonna be. Hey,
there's only gonna be 2 people in that race.
Hey, and come on, Greg, you being real. It's gonna only be 2 people in that race, but boy, that is gonna be a duke it out race. Oh, matter of fact,
remember, this is the rematch.
This is the rematch.
You know how I know it's a rematch?
So,
you know how I know it's a rematch? Who moderated that last?
That's where I was going. That's where I was going. I was gonna ask you, did you realize, Greg, that we moderated that debate?
The last debate, which was in 2021, if I remember right.
And you know, Greg, there was a couple of times there that I thought we were going to kind of lose control of this.
I was never worried about losing control.
Hey man, that thing that thing got real frisky.
Listen, it was interesting, but yeah. So what we're talking about, and I know we sometimes talk in code, and we apologize, Let's Talk Nation. But those who've been following us for a long time, like Bishop Stubbs, who's following us right now, Brother John Burns, who's following us right now. For those who've been following us for a while, y'all kind of know where we're going. But Regina Hill and Shan Rose ran against each other, or Shan Rose challenged Regina Hill in 2021 for the Orlando District 5 race, and Regina Hill won handily. And so with this latest turn of events for Regina Hill, where she is currently battling a court case, she's already indicated she's running for that seat again because she was removed by the governor. But that doesn't mean she can't run again, i.e. we saw what Monique Roel did after she was removed by the governor. She went ahead and she ran for state attorney again and won this time. That's what Regina Hill is doing.
Hey, you know something? I just thought about, man, District 5, City of Orlando District 5 race is going to get a great deal of earned media. Can you let people know what that is?
Listen, that's free advertisement.
Yeah.
Is what it is. That's free advertisement, and you know, this is what I say: if Regina Hill survives her trial,
Mm-hmm.
or if Regina Hill is actually convicted but is not incarcerated, I think that she has the right to run. That the law may say something different, but I think that under the circumstances, what's fair is fair. If you have a president who's been convicted, you can have a city commissioner who's been convicted. If we're going to be across the board with it, but I think that if Regina Hill survives those things, I think that this is going to be her race to lose.
Man, that just reminds me of that Muhammad Ali Rumble.
And the jungle. Now, which one are you talking about now? Talking about the Thriller in Manila. You talking about the Rumble in the Jungle?
Oh man, you're right. There was
because you had one with Joe Frazier. That was the Thriller in Manila, and then he had the Rumble in the Jungle with George Foreman. But both of those fights were both of those fights were.
Like I said, Greg, this is going to that's going to be a very interesting race, and it's almost going to be like every week you can look at something coming out of that. Every week.
I don't know if it's going to be like that, like a Muhammad Ali, Joe Foreman, or a Muhammad Ali Frazier fight. This might be more like a Mike Tyson beating up on someone. Listen, man, I'm telling you. I mean, Regina Hill, for whatever reason, well, I should say for whatever reason, I know, and her constituents know why she is so wildly popular in that area. We don't have to live in that area, so we don't deal with a lot of things in the scrutiny, but she is wildly popular in the area where she ran. I mean, she much like to the point that I'm making, she ran against. Get this, when she first won in 2013, she ran against the son of another another political giant here.
Daisy Lynam.
Daisy Lynam.
Yeah, the late Daisy Lynam.
And listen, Daisy Lynam didn't endorse anybody but her son.
Mm-hmm.
You dig what I'm saying? But and she, she beat Daisy Lynam's son, Juan Lynam, and that was her seat. If you ask me, she could have held that seat until she decided to give it up.
Matter of fact, give me some credit because I talked about 3 effective trailblazers.
You did
last week, and Daisy Lynam was one of them.
That's right, and rightfully so.
Yeah,
rightfully so. That was a great list of names. A great list of names.
Man, one of my first jobs, Greg, out of college, when I moved to Orlando, former and the late Daisy Lynam and I were on a board with the city of Orlando, Parks and Rec.
Okay.
And when she told me she was running for office, I gave her first $100.
Oh, really?
And I told her to go take that check and cash it real because I was on paycheck to paycheck.
So you better get it for my rep.
Hey, and boy, I tell you, she lived up to everything that she said she was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Greg, here's a segue I want to make, man.
Yeah.
When we talk about the different political races that are taking place, man, the meeting of the minds.
So, here's the scary thing.
Politics and war, man.
Yeah, here's the scary thing, man. And we always talk about how politics and war make for strange bedfellows. Mm-hmm. And basically what that means is that in a time of war and time of politics, there are people who actually come together who you would not typically think would come together. We've kind of been talking about it. We've kind of skirted around the issue. But I haven't seen where the Democratic Party has yet to come up with any type of agenda that is going to attract or address the issues that African-American male voters have had with the Democratic Party. And if that continues to be the case, in much the same way that we saw in 2024, where you had 18% of African-American males to vote Republican, I think that number will continue to rise as politics makes for strange bedfellows between Republicans and the black male votes, or black males and whoever else is going to be in line with the issues that's important to African-American males.
Well, here's what I would say, Greg, and I mean, I would ask.
Talking about that tent. I want to know about that tent.
No, I'm not going to even mention that tent. I'm not even going to mention that tent tonight. I'm not going to mention it. But here's what I would say, Greg. What can the Democratic Party say to black males right now? You got to go do some work. What can it actually say to black males right now?
I mean,
Dang, I got you.
Because it's not a whole lot. They have not in my estimation, this is what I'm gonna say. They have not been attentive to or understanding what is important to African American males in our community.
You know what I was expecting?
What's that?
With this conversation right here, right now, this is the part where Doc Polite go throw on the jacket and maybe put on one of his.
Put on the hat. And then, catch me doing glasses.
Yeah, and then Hey, and here's where he was at. Well, let me tell you what I think they need to say or can't say.
Nobody can say. And listen, let me tell you something else too. I'm gonna tell you who's been unusually quiet. Since the election, and that's kind of odd, is Black females. Black females have been unusually quiet in this in this space and time, and I don't know if it's because the Democrat Party is not calling on them the way that they had in the past.
Did y'all ring?
Guide and to influence.
Did y'all ring?
Hey, you got to do it like Lurch did, man. You got to do it like Lurch used to do.
You rang.
There you go. There you go.
Doc, so what's your thoughts, man?
And so listen, Doc. So politics of war makes for strange bedfellows, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the Democrat Party does not come up with some type of agenda that appeals to the African American males, where do you think African American males are looking to turn to?
That's an excellent question. Realistically, I think many of them will go independent, but I think quite a few of them, using logic, are going to go to Republican Party.
And you know what? Because this is what I always tell people about going independent, Doc. As much as I think that it is a viable option. The one downside to being independent is that you haven't picked a side.
Yeah,
and you can't vote in primary elections and different things like that.
Right.
Whereas if you pick a side, you can have a voice or influence. And listen, for the Democrat Party, I know my voice is very small inside of the party. Outside of that,
it's non-existent.
Exactly.
And I mean, Greg, I'm glad you pointed that out. And on top of that, is during the primary, nobody's talking to you.
Exactly. Yeah, they're not talking to independent voters. They only
I think most independent voters are actually people who have decided to disengage. They want to come to the big party, but they don't want to prepare for it.
Yeah.
They don't want to work to help people get elected. They don't want to give money to help people get elected. They just want to cast a vote when it's time to,
That's true.
Make a statement. And then, like, I love what you said, Brother Jackson. You're not really picking anybody.
Yeah.
You're picking the person that other people pick for you to pick. So you're not really engaged in any process.
And you're right. And you're allowing time for whoever makes it to the big party, the general, to pivot.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, Doc, here's the other thing too. Have you noticed the silence of Black female voters here lately?
Yeah. We was talking about this last night. They're done checked out.
Yeah.
They checked out, and they are on TikTok talking about it. They say,
let me ask you this question. Have they checked out, or has the Democratic Party checked out on them?
No, they've checked out. They have told them, don't come to us. We're tired.
Yeah.
We're taking a break. You handle it on your own. Because now they're trying to run to get them to say, wring their hands. Black women, they want Black women to go out and wring their hands over Donald Trump. And they're not even interested. And
I'm gonna just say
the worst thing you can do in America, and people ain't gonna like this. The worst thing you can do in America is ignore Black women.
Yeah.
Black women is one of the most powerful demographics, even though we don't like to say it on either side, but they sway the nation. They really do, because they will get on an issue, get involved with an issue, and that issue, they can blow it up. They can blow it up.
But now the other thing too is that Black female voters are easily influenced by the establishment too.
Yes, but that's changing. Yeah. I think that's really changing. These younger women are challenging the status quo. And they are really the Janet Jacksons of this age. What have you done for me lately?
Hey, listen. As Brother Burns has put it and has reminded me, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
If you're good. All right, Brother John.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend. That's right.
Hey, but let me ask both of you quickly as we count down. One of the things that I've been observing that's taking place in Washington is what I observed. The Democratic solution to what's taking place there is to sit back and see if things self-destruct, and without taking a stand on things. That's not the, keep doing that and wait and see what that gets you.
Well, listen, I'm going to say this, though, and I've said it before. The Republican Party is missing a tremendous opportunity right now.
Yeah, you said you don't want me to talk about the tent, and
the tremendous opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm going to say this on that. I agree. I agree with you 100%. And I think they're missing the opportunity because of presumed understanding and ideas. They assume or presume that Black people are not amenable or open to the idea of being Republican or understanding what conservatism is, because in the idea and in our lifestyle, Black people are probably more conservative than the Republican Party, because it's a lot of stuff that we just not going to tolerate. We're not going to allow it in our lifestyle. Many of us live like that with those values. We had a conversation off air with Brother Armando, and I was telling them, that's just not how I'm going to live. I don't care what everybody else do. It's some things that I know just by the nature of who I am and manhood and responsible, being a responsible citizen means to me. And I'm not going to break that, those values that I hold.
And Doc, I'm sure you're familiar with this and you know about this, but Brother Jackson and I, man, we've extended a invitation, man, for Congressman Byron Donalds to come to open up some dialogue so that there can be this exchange of ideas and conversation. So that's something that I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the
if he comes, I would be surprised. I would be stunned, actually.
But you'd welcome it.
Listen, y'all know me. I can hit you in the head one minute, the next minute I help you get up.
There you go.
I don't have permanent enemies. We can disagree all day. That doesn't mean that your point of view or your beliefs don't have value.
Yeah,
they're just not mine, and I can respect you being different. Y'all know we disagree on stuff.
Well, I'll tell you what, and Greg can testify to this. Something Greg and I was able to do a couple of weekends ago, man.
Oh, yeah.
It was incredible. And I got to tell you, man, I learned something from these two individuals coming together who ordinarily wouldn't be sitting down at the same table.
That's true. And people still talking about it.
Yeah.
Hey, but listen, let me make a hard pivot real quick. Thoughts and prayers go out to the family from Spain in New York who were on a family vacation, touring on a helicopter, and the helicopter fell from the sky. The rotor fell off the plane, off the helicopter. Come to find out, that particular company has now since gone out of business just 3 days after this happened. They were under the least amount of scrutiny and restrictions of any type of tourist business in the city, and so they did not maintain those aircrafts the way they should have. And that also reminds me to once again say that if anyone is thinking about jumping out of an airplane on a tandem jump, anything like that, don't do it. Those companies do not have insurance, and they actually force you to sign away your right and your ability to sue them if they do something wrong. I'm actually engaged in litigation against the company now because they actually forged my client's name onto a waiver form in an effort to not be responsible for what they did to injure my client.
Oh wow.
Well,
I'm glad you said that because that's on my wife's bucket list. It's coming off now.
hey,
Yeah, don't do it.
not on my
Don't
bucket
do it.
list. And Greg, I'm gonna end it with saying to you, I don't aspire to jump out of a perfectly good airplane.
Hey, listen, there's no
Ever.
need to.
Ever.
There's no need to.
Hey, Doc, man, we appreciate your input. Hey, and Brother Jackson, man, you do not have to dive out of a plane.
Wait a minute. I wanted to talk some more.
You want to talk some more?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Keep talking. Keep talking. Keep talking. Brother Jackson, you don't have to go home, but you gotta get out of here. Let's see you next week on Let's Talk Nation. That doggone Doc.